Sure. I'll talk it out.
Yeah, let's just have a conversation.
Track 3.
Better not be fucking Dave Matthews Band.
Okay. Those of you who don't want to be a part of this can leave now.
Derek, please listen to me.
But if you choose to stay, which it seems like you guys are choosing,
Derek, please.
you understand and agree to the following terms and conditions.
Derek!
1.
Derek, this is the virus
You
talking.
hereby waive your right
Derek, please.
to your own personal bodily integrity.
This is not you.
2.
I'm a life-
Per the state versus Neville Reed, my colleague and I will not be held criminally liable for any felony or misdemeanor that you may be a victim of, including, but not limited to, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, disorderly conduct, destruction of property, mayhem, and first-degree murder. And 3, terms and conditions may change or be updated whenever the fuck I want! Consider yourselves notified.
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis
And DJ Neko.
here with the Metal Time Radio podcast, continuing our journey of Anubis's top 50 movies of the 21st century.
For some reason, I thought you were doing 100.
Oh, no.
I had that in my brain for a while. I was like, so where are we now?
I think maybe I could have got to like 75 or 80, but to do 100 would have been really tough.
And then it's like now that you're getting into, number 22, number 11, you're really starting to rank some of your favorites. And it's hard. Like, why is this one up higher than the other one? And
Well, yeah, I'm sure over the years I'll be like second guessing myself a little bit with some of them, but
these movies change like based on what you're doing in life too. Like,
well, yeah, and like the music, the songs, like they always change because you get new favorites, new movie favorites.
or if you get you overplay a movie.
Mhm.
I mean, like for me, there's certain movies that I like that are just I call them like bubblegum, time filler. I really like them just for background noise or like to lay in bed and watch it and fall asleep. Just because I watch them all the time does
Lord
not
of the Rings.
mean. Well, no, I mean stuff like The Devil Wears Prada. Like it's a cute movie, but it's not something that you're like, oh man, this is Oscar worthy and blah blah blah. It's just something that I found that I enjoyed, and it's easy to watch, and because I've seen it so many times, I just enjoy having it on in the background when I'm maybe running around the house or cleaning or just laying in bed. But then there's other movies that I really, that like Silence of the Lambs, that's like a movie, or The Departed, where
Right.
but sometimes like you'll I went through a time where I was watching The Departed and The Lost Boys like way too much, and I had to stop watching them. Same thing with Silver Linings Playbook, which are all like good movies, and I had to stop, and I like kind of, I don't want to say I overdid it, but I overdid it, and it was kind of like making the movie not as enjoyable.
Yeah, I just, over time, like these movies, I could watch them at any time and enjoy them. But obviously, as we get closer to the top 10,
It's like, oh, how is this 9 and this one's 8?
right. But let's recap where we are so far.
All right.
So we are at number 20, but we started at number 50 and did 3 other episodes. So here we go. Number 50 was The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears. That's like a modern giallo film.
Yeah. No.
Not to your liking. Then we had Cosmo Passatos. I pronounced his name wrong, but Beyond the Black Rainbow.
No.
He's one of my favorite new directors. Zombies, Devil's Rejects at 48.
I like the Devil's Rejects.
47 was King of the Monsters, but we included the trilogy because it's really good as a trilogy of Godzilla films. You thought that was kind of shocking at the time. That was really low.
That's lower than probably what I would put it. I've spent a lot of time, especially with that first Godzilla movie, because I felt, besides just, getting so excited to see Godzilla done in the way that they're doing it now, just the story, was really good too.
46 is The Watchmen.
You're putting stuff too low. I forgot about it. We saw that opening night at midnight in IMAX with
the big blue dick.
The big blue dick. He and I looked and we're like, that's a big blue dick.
In IMAX. And I think it was 3D too.
Yeah, special effects. It's the biggest, bluest dick ever.
45 is The Man from Nowhere, a Korean film. 44 is Last Night in Soho. We both really enjoyed that.
I really like that movie.
43, Napoleon Dynamite.
I still can't believe you have Napoleon higher than Godzilla.
42, basically the Bourne Supremacy, but again, it's a trilogy that I really like, so I could include the entire trilogy into that. And then the next 41 is also a trilogy. I would say probably Dead Man's Chest is my favorite, but give me any one of them. The Pirates of the Caribbean films, the first three, I really love a lot. Johnny Depp is great in that, of course.
He's meant to be Captain Jack Sparrow.
Then we got into episode 4, and number 40 was Joe Dirt. That's always a favorite that we quote all the time.
Yes, nonstop. I think I'd have that higher too.
Number 39 is the original Old Boy, a Korean film there as well. 38, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. I really enjoyed what that brought to like the werewolf lore and stuff. So a little bit different, and it kind of surprised me how good that was. 37, Rise of the Legend, a Chinese martial arts film. 36, initially I thought about going, we talked about it at the time, I thought about going with the trilogy, but after seeing the third film, I think I'm okay with just Clerks 2 being in this spot.
Clerks 3, spoiler alert.
Different.
It's not like 1 or 2, and 2 is not like 1. So it's
3 was okay. It was interesting, but I think we expected a lot different.
We thought
going
it was going to be hysterical, or at least like dark hysterical, and it was not. It was quite sad.
But like again, Clerks 2 is something that we quote all the time.
Clerks 2 is our secret.
Yeah. 35, people would probably be really surprised as Dog Soldiers being at this spot, but there's a lot of great films that I put into this list. And as I get closer and closer, you'll understand why. Number 34, Killers, a Japanese film. Number 33, another film that we quote a lot, Step Brothers.
See, I love Step Brothers, but I feel like I would have Clerks higher than Step Brothers, and possibly Joe Dirt higher than Step Brothers.
Okay, well, it's your list.
It's your list.
Number 32, Merantau. It's an Indonesian film. Number 31 is True Legend, another Chinese martial arts film. So they made a lot of impact on me. Then we went to episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And number 30 was a film that you hadn't seen, but we talked about a bit. It was The Witch, Subversion, which is a Korean film. Actually, you maybe did watch it with me one night.
Maybe I caught like part of it.
Yeah, because we were kind of talking about it a little bit. 29, Hot Fuzz. It's a fuzz.
Again, I don't know, because we quote that one a lot too. But I still.
Well, if we really think about this logically, if I were to do a top 50, or let's just say top 25 comedy films, this would be way up there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these films would be pushed forward. This is like all genre things. So it's kind of like you get a little bit of everything in the kitchen sink. Number 28, The Night Comes For Us, another Indonesian martial arts film. 27, basically it's The Dark Knight, but it's also the trilogy with my boy Christian Bale.
That's his boy.
26 is Anbak, Thai film there. 25, Tales of Halloween. Really, really enjoyed it. I still need to order that because I love that film.
You
20
don't have it?
Not yet. I have it on my wish list. I just haven't bought it yet. 24, Grandma's Boy. That would be very high on my
Yeah, I was
comedy
gonna say
list.
that's I think the top one
Yeah.
for us. That and Clerks too. I don't know, but Grandma's Boy is the top of our like
Yeah, comedy list.
comedy quotes, rewatching. We could put it on. We just don't get bored of it.
Right.
And it's older. I mean, it is of the 21st century, but I mean, it's 2023, so it is like 20 years old. And you see some stars before they were like.
Well, you showed me a film, and I can't remember what it was. You'll remember it, but it has Seth Rogen and Cardellini in the film, but it was earlier in there.
No,
too.
that was fuck, what was that? It was a show from the
Mhm.
80s or 90s,
90s,
early
yeah.
90s. It had Seth Rogen. It had oh god, what the fuck is his name? It had all of them.
Franco
Yeah, it
was in
had
it?
Franco in it. It had the guy from How I Met Your Mother. It was all of them.
Yeah.
But what the fuck was that show?
Yeah, you showed it to me, and I'm like, oh wow, look at it.
And it was funny. And remember, like he played the drums, and they had a band, and yeah. So it was it's a fun show. Fuck me. Now I'm gonna have to look that up.
Number 23, Ip Man 1 and 2,
I do,
Donnie Yen.
I do like it, man.
22, Kiss of the Dragon. I know you enjoyed that too, with Jet Li. 21, she was ready to check out at this point. It's this Lord of the Rings trilogy. Which brings us to number 20. And this one, when I was ranking all these, like I was constantly moving stuff up and down. I just wasn't sure where to put this, but the more I thought about it, the more I really like it. And I haven't seen it in a while, but I really like it. I know Missy or NECA really likes it as well.
Who's in the real name?
Yeah, real name. So at number 20, it is 2005's Lords of Dogstown.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Directed by Catherine Hardwicke. Cast consists of Heath Ledger, who I did not recognize. And now when I saw his name, I was like, that is him.
Mm-hmm.
As Skip. Emile Hirsch, Johnny Knoxville, Rebecca De Mornay are in this as well. The plot is basically the film follows the surf and skateboarding trends that originated in Venice, California during the 1970s. So, yeah, it's all based upon how it all started with the Stacy Peralta and the gang that created skateboarding and the craziness and the
changed the way
pool,
they changed the way that tricks were perceived.
Right.
And before you would see like skateboarding was always still kind of like an outsiders type thing, and it was gaining popularity, but there was like very specific tricks. Like they're like, oh, you have to do this, or so it kind of follows the same trend when you think of like figure skating. Where
Right.
like, oh yeah, you have to do X amount of jumps and this and that. Well, it was the same way with skateboarding. But then when you get some really significant athletes who start pushing, and saying, I can do this. Why isn't this like allowed? Because it could get you disqualified to do certain things. And, that's how like the open thing kind of started with.
Well, you remember they went to that competition and they started doing their craziness, and the guys were like, these aren't even tricks. What is going on? And it came into a big fight thing. Like, they were trying to, like, they're basically saying, fuck you, this is our way of skateboarding. And eventually it took off, and they started using pools as their ramps and stuff to do it. And of course that kind of sparked Tony Hawk and all the rest of them guys. So
California's notorious for their droughts in the summertime and the wildfires that they're dealing with right now too. And there's lots of pools right now that are drained, and maybe people are hopping fences and skateboarding in the pools right now. It's a little different now that everybody has cameras.
Yeah. There's some great acting, and there's a lot of just even the younger, not unknown names. There's a few, like Emile Hirsch went on to do a bunch of films throughout his career. Obviously Ledger, of course, and then but also Peralta was one of the writers on the film. So
So you kind of felt like you got a good.
introspective
Mhm.
look at what everything was going on. So he kind of led the direction of how the film was going to go out. At number 19, this is basically 1 and 2, but I'm going to use 1 as the because it's one. First one was really good. Second one's just as good, but
Mhm.
there's no trilogy yet. They're apparently working on a third. But at number 19, it is Now You See Me. And
I honestly, I like the movie, but I probably wouldn't have even put it on the list.
thought about it.
Mm-mm.
Directed by Louis Leterrier.
I'm very surprised it's this high up.
Cast consists of Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Ruffalo, Morgan Freeman, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, Dave Franco, Isla, sorry, Michael Caine, and Michael Kelly, whom we know from Stamper from House of Cards, is in this. as
Yeah.
well. So basically, the plot is an FBI agent and an Interpol detective track a team of illusionists who pull out bank heists during their performances and reward their audiences with money. I knew nothing about
Robin Hood.
Yeah, I never knew anything about these films, and especially the first one before I went in there. And when I watched it, I love films that kind of play with your mind and are like misleading and misdirection. And this film and the second one do exactly that. That's how they get the audience. Like you don't even see it coming. You're like, wow, that's how they did this shit. So there's like this mystery that unravels, and like every time you think that our main stars are the bad guys, they're actually kind of the good guys. Both movies are fantastic. I will say, in the second film, which is really great, Daniel Radcliffe plays a great villain in it. So if you know him from the Harry Potter series, he's a great villain in the second film.
Speaking of Harry Potter, I haven't heard any Harry Potter on this list yet.
Mm-hmm. But these movies will definitely surprise you, and great cast, just excellent acting, top to bottom, and well written and scripted out there. So really enjoyed those films a lot. Which brings us to number 18. This film, Neko mentioned that you can watch certain films that like you find them at any point in the film and you'll just sit and watch it. There's another film back in the 90s called Airborne with the young Seth Green. Every time that's on, I watch it. I don't own it. I should own it. I'm terrible because I don't, but it gets played a lot on TV. So whenever it comes on, I see it.
Oh, yeah. It's the rollerblading one.
It's like a cult flick.
What was the one with...
It has a young Jack Black in it, too.
Yeah. It's another 90s movie, and it's... they were the Lone Rangers that had
Airheads.
Yes, fucking Airheads.
Yeah, young
Brendan
Steve
Fraser.
Buscemi in there. Adam
Lone
Sandler.
Rangers.
They're Lone
You
Rangers.
can't be plural. There's only one of you. Oh my god, sorry.
But this film is the same way. Like if I see it at any point now, I do own it now. But at number 18 is 2018's Ready Player One. And I really love this film. Directed by Ty Sheridan, Steven Spielberg. Cast consists of Ty Sheridan, Olivia Cooke, Simon Pegg, Mark Rylance, and Lena Wraith. Plot is when the creator of a virtual reality called The Oasis dies, he makes a posthumous challenge to all Oasis users to find his Easter egg, which will give them the fortune and control of his world. I knew by the trailer when I saw it coming out that it would be something I'd be interested in. Just I didn't realize how much I really fall in love with the film. But as I said, it's probably one of those few films where if it just pops up on TV somewhere, I'm just going to sit and watch it because it's that good.
I don't like this as much as Anubis does, and I think it's because I know that the book is different, and it sounds like the book is better, and I just have been too wrapped up to actually read the book, and I think this might be a book you'd want to read with me. But sometimes that's a double-edged sword when it's a movie that you love, because I purposely, because The Devil Wears Prada was a book and I liked the movie, and I never read the book because Silver Linings Playbook is also a book before it became a movie. And I read the book, and the book was disappointing because the movie did what a good book to movie adaptation did, is they took out the parts of the book that were not as good, you know, and then kind of kept the story and kept the people, but like changed it enough. So with me, because I heard that there's like, they had a bunch of more modern video game characters in the movie, and that's what you probably want to do. But I heard that there's like a lot of more retro characters, and I heard the story's just slightly different. So then I got tainted, and I've only watched it once, and I was like, it's all right.
Yeah, true story here. So I do
video games.
Well, no, I do enjoy the Harry Potter movies, but I never read the books. Now, before Deathly Hollows came out, so I'd just seen Half-Blood Prince, and so now we were down to the last two films. I'd read these like Cliff Notes versions of the books because I was curious about what it was going to be about, what was going to happen. Because really, the Half-Blood Prince started to show the romance between Hermione and Ron, which I was clueless was going to happen. Like everybody who read the books knew it was going to happen because they had a little more detail about everything. I didn't see it coming. So I was curious how it was all going to play out. So I read the Cliff Notes, and this is one of these weird circumstances where the Cliff Notes told me the story, and I thought, wow, this is deep. Like, this is cool. And it's dark, and I can understand like why things are happening. But then when Yates did the movie and they changed, like they put the dancing scene with Harry and Hermione, and they changed the way the scene of the Silver Doe was a little bit. I became disappointed in the movie part of it because I'm like,
you already knew what was supposed to happen,
right?
And then you're like, what's the movie is like not what I was expecting because you already, I
mean, it still had some nice points in the movie, and it got to the point that I thought it should, but there was just something about the way they changed it. I thought, wow, you really stole away a lot of Ron's trauma, and because he was so fearful and he wasn't able to hold the Horcrux because it was doing more damage to him because he was so insecure. And it's really weird because like people will look at that, and I remember reading fans were saying, well, Ron was just a bad guy. He was just insecure and he couldn't handle it. And I'm like, but there's reasons for that. You know, he's always been the third wheel. He's not as good as a wizard as Harry or Hermione. And so that can play a part in how he felt himself being worthy of Hermione's affections. And so that leads to the anger when he leaves, and he's like, you know, eventually he comes back, but you know, it's just one of those things where the Cliff Notes was a much better story than what was actually told in the movies there. Now for the rest of it, I don't know, because there's some other things that I had read that didn't happen in the movies. I'm kind of glad they didn't show that, but you know, I should.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying about the Silver Linings too. It's like the book wasn't bad; it was a decent book. But then because I had watched the movie so much, I'm like, the movie. And not a lot of times people say this, but the movie was better. And from what I heard about, like, because I like to read, and like The Devil Wears Prada is such a kind of a fun movie. I heard that the book is a little more serious, and the girl who wrote it actually was Andy. Like she actually was an intern for Anna Wintour, who was the editor-in-chief at Vogue. And she just changed the names but wrote about her experience. And you know, the stuff you see in the movie is kind of like, yeah, I would not want to be somebody's assistant like that. But it was in the book, it's like pretty brutal. So, but then when they made the movie, it was changed to make what's her face look like in a much better light than actually what in the book was. And the book is kind of truthful because she's like, yeah, I was an assistant for a while. So it's interesting, you know, and especially when you have something where it's like with Harry Potter, it's so beloved, and then people are like, oh, the books are better,
Yeah,
and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I've never once cracked open a Harry Potter book, but people say, and they are like youth, young adult books. So even though they're large, very thick books, you should be able to get through them pretty easily. I'm just like, I'm not even interested. I've fallen asleep in every single movie in the movie theater. I didn't even go see the last two with him. He went with other people.
Well, the thing about Ready Player One that I like so much is there's a lot of nostalgia, and so like of course you have Mecha Godzilla in there, but there's a lot of callbacks, and that's another part of why I really enjoy it.
I'm just so surprised that's very high for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure is. All right, so what number are we on? 17?
mhm.
All right, so this is at number 17, 2003 is a remake. This is called The Italian Job. And great cast, directed by F. Gary Gray, Mark Wahlberg, Edward Norton, Charlize Theron, Seth Green, Jason Statham, and Donald Sutherland. Plot is, after being betrayed and left for dead in Italy, Charlie Croker and his team plan an elaborate gold heist against their former ally. And really, the funny thing is, I recently saw the original, and I thought the original kind of was bland for what it was. I know it was way back when, but this was a much more fun film, much better acted, just more action. I think they did it much better with this remake. It's not too often I'll say a remake outdoes the original, but this is one of those cases.
That's another one I've watched maybe one time. Didn't really. Sorry.
I mean, come on, it has your boy Jason in it.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
It's got some minis. I know you wanted one of these at one point.
Yeah, I do. I'm not driving that around here.
Very strong cast, fantastic performances, and it has this cat and mouse appeal about it because
And that's just like what you were saying. You like movies like that.
yeah, I like when it kind of keeps me guessing a little bit. This is probably the biggest surprise at 16 in terms of what is in my list and how high it is. When I initially watched it, I wasn't sure if I even really liked it as much as other people at the time, but over the years, it struck a good chord with me.
Okay.
So at number 16, 2005's V for Vendetta.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I've watched the whole thing. I thought it was kind of boring.
That's what I thought too. But as you pay a little more attention to it and watch what's going on, like it reminds me a little bit, and ironically has John Hurt in it. Have you ever saw 1994? It's an old film with John Hurt. It has that kind of vibe about it. Basically, the plot is, or it's first, the cast is Natalie Portman, Hugo Weaving, Stephen Ray, Stephen Fry, and John Hurt. Plot is, in a future British dystopian society, a shadowy freedom fighter known only by the alias of V plots to overthrow the tyrannical government with the help of a young woman played by Portman. One, like, I didn't really expect, like, because of the sophistication of V and everything, that he was going to be this like kind of badass fighter. So, and of course, the mask has become kind of iconic with the hacker group online, Anonymous. So I'm sure that played a little bit of part in like how they formed and everything, what their icon and mascot would eventually be. But Portman's really good in this as usual. She's a great actress in pretty much anything she does. And I didn't even realize Weaving was V initially. So I've seen him in other fields. He always reminds me of Sam Neill in some ways. But yeah, just really good. I like the plot, and the story is really good. And it's kind of struck a chord with me over the years. It's up there now. Yeah, you don't even remember it.
It was not interesting.
Okay, that's fine. Number 15. I think I've tried to get Neko to rewatch this. I know she's seen it once. She says she doesn't remember it. I first caught this on Joe Bob Briggs, the late drive-in. It's directed by Shinichiro Yuda, and it is called One Cut of the Dead. The cast consists of Takayuki Hamatsu, Yuzuki Kimiyama, and Harumi Shuhama. Plot is, things go badly for a hack director and film crew shooting a low-budget zombie movie in an abandoned World War II Japanese facility when they are attacked by real zombies. Now, I'm not going to give too much away with this because that's the great thing about this film is that the way that Joe Bob explained it when he was airing this is once you get through half of the movie's going to end. Like the credits will roll. But then that's not where it all is. It starts the other side of that. And so that's the twist. And that's what's fun about this film. So you have to watch the film all the way through. Even if you see the credits halfway through, it's not over. Hamatsu is hilarious in this. He cracks me up. I don't know. It's just facial expressions or the way he's acting in this film. But he is quite funny. And I really enjoy this film a lot.
Well, good.
So far, Missy's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm finding all the other films much better. Let's see if she knows. She knows this film. What are we, 14? Yeah, I think so. 14. 2003's Basic. John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Connie
That
Nielsen.
is really high for that movie because I think that movie's pretty basic.
Oh no!
God.
No!
You got a weird ranking system, dude.
Rosalind Sanchez, Giovanni Ribisi, Harry Connick Jr., Tim Daly, and Taye Diggs are also in this. Plot is a DEA agent investigates the disappearance of a legendary Army Ranger drill sergeant and several of his cadets during a training exercise gone severely awry. Again, this has a cat and mouse vibe. There's a string of familiarity.
Guess what? Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
That's a good film, but it was before 2000.
I'm
It
just
probably
giving,
would
I'm
have
giving the end away.
Yeah, yeah, but this isn't like that.
It is like that.
No, not really.
Once they were John Travolta showed up. Never mind. It's not that great of a movie. It's an average movie. It wouldn't even made my top 50 list.
Oh, it's terrible. I don't know why, man. Like, it's so good.
Very average.
In fact, it's one of my favorite performances by Travolta, actually. Of course, NECA's going to say Saturday Night Fever, but, you know, we'll get beyond that.
Well, that's not of the 21st century, but, like, I think you and I don't think I have talked to you about this before. Saturday Night Fever had to be released because I think it was a rated R movie.
Yeah.
And they recut it.
Right.
Because the music was so popular. So a lot of people.
Yeah, because they have a lot of dark shit in there.
A lot
Yeah.
of it's not this happy movie.
Yeah, people get attached to the dancing part of it, but that's not really what the movie. That's just like a subset of what's going on.
And that's what most people have seen is the PG cut because that's what they put on regular TV. But if you watch the regular, like, rated R version of Saturday Night Fever, number one, it's much longer because there's, like, a whole different kind of plot going on. And there's things that they took out that, you know, are, you know, we're talking about, like, unwed, and this is back in the 70s, but it's, you know, very unwed people getting pregnant, and we're talking about, like, stripper that's one strip scene that I completely forgot about because you get kind of like after you've seen both. But yeah, that is, and for someone he was so young back then. I mean, he might have been like what, 23 when he made that movie, like, to be able to pull off like the range. But yeah, and I'm trying to think what other. I mean, I like Pulp Fiction, but that's a 90s movie.
He's great in Pulp Fiction.
What did he do in the 2000s?
Oh, he did a lot. He did Broken Arrow with Christian Slater. That's a really good film.
I like that one. Was Face Off in the 2000s or the 90s?
No, that's 90s.
That's
That's a
90s.
really great film. Swordfish.
Oh, yeah, Swordfish.
I mean, he's done some stuff. He did that one that your mom met him on when he was a fireman or something.
Oh, that one's depressing too.
Ladder
It's like
something.
Ladder
99.
59 or whatever. Yeah, that was actually filmed in Baltimore, and my dad's cousin works for like an insurance company, and he was doing the insurance for like the movie, And that's how my mom was able to go and meet and actually watch them film.
She was so giddy.
I know. And she got to meet him, and I'm like super jealous because he's amazing.
Well, here's the thing, right? Neko is kind of right. So this film, when you watch Basic, it looks like it's just going to be kind of your straightforward meth film, right? But once you get to the end, dude, again, it does this twist.
Wait a minute. Maybe I do like this one.
Yeah, it does this twist.
Wait, no. I'm thinking of...
What, oh boy, see, now she's confusing films.
Give me, like...
Yeah, so they get the 2-1 guys. So you remember Kip Raines from Gone in 60 Seconds. It was Nicolas Cage's brother. He plays one of the soldiers, and he's recalling everything that's happening. Now, there's another guy with them. I forget who the actor is, but they're telling different stories of what's going on and how supposedly Samuel L. Jackson lost it, or they killed him, or whatever. That the crews were all fucked up. By the end of it, I'll just give this away. Travolta's character says to the girl, because they're working together to figure out the mystery, they think they solved it. It's raining, and he says, well, we just got to keep our story straight. And then he walks away, and then that triggers something she remembers from one of the guys.
Yeah,
saying,
but like, were there like 2 young kids, like younger? I'm getting something convoluted.
no, she ends up following him and then discovers something.
Yeah, I know, but they were all like there. He was alive.
Yes, but that's kind of what no one knew. That's the brilliance of it all, because it was to try to lure her in to join their group.
You thought like V for Vendetta, this is another, anti-government group movie.
All right. Number 13, and this should come to no shock to anyone, especially if you've seen my intro, is 2017's Mayhem.
Yeah, I do like Mayhem. I still wouldn't put it that high. You really like Mayhem. I think it's good, but I don't think it's
Directed by
13.
Joe Lynch. Cast consists of Stephen Yeun, Samara Weaving, who we've seen in the intro. Plot is a virus spreads through an office complex, causing white-collar workers to act out their worst impulses. Probably one of the greatest things I learned about this film is somewhere around in that scene that you see at the beginning of our intro, Joe Bob Briggs, but this is another one that I discovered through him, mentions, because he's talked to the director and all this other stuff. There was a couple of extras when they were doing the crazy scene where everyone's lighting shit on fire and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the impulses is having sex. So like this couple who were just actors just literally started having real sex on one of the desks. And so like it's not, you don't see the act really in definition or anything, but you can see them in the background kind of getting going on it, but apparently they had real sex on the thing, which I thought was hilarious. Great performance by Stephen Yeun and Samara Weaving in this. I thought they were both great. I really love this film, man. I still play it a lot. I like it on the intro. I love it, man. I love it. It's just so great.
I think I've seen it once. It's okay.
I think we reviewed it, didn't we?
Okay, maybe I've seen it twice. Like, I don't hate the movie. I wouldn't put it at number 13. I think it's an okay movie.
Wow, she's really crushing me in this one.
Yeah, this is a bad chunk of movies.
Wow.
Dude.
Can only get better.
It
All
only goes up from here.
right.
Come on, give me something.
It's to no surprise at number 12. Oh boy. This is going to start a run at some point, right? Because we knew it was coming. Number 12, 2002's Equilibrium.
Oh, I knew that was.
Directed
Your
by
boyfriend's
Kurt
in it.
Wimmer. Cast consists of Christian Bale, Sean Bean, Taye Diggs, Sean Pertwee, Emma Watson, Dominic Purcell, and Willem Fitcher. Plot is in the oppressive future where all forms of feeling are illegal. A man in charge of enforcing the law rises to overthrow the system and state.
Look, another overthrow the government movie with your boyfriend. 2 for 2 for what's
Yeah,
next? What's
sexy.
next? The Machinist.
I don't think I've seen that all the way through, but that was actually a pretty impressive movie.
And that's another mindfuck movie, remember?
Mm-hmm. Probably one of the more interesting things that Bale's character as a cleric is that, they use this kind of thing where it's almost like Jim Cotta with guns. And the whole idea was that you were shooting like at different angles, right? So I always thought that was kind of interesting plot design. But the thing about this film that I really liked and why it's still with me all this time, it resembles a lot to the book and movie Fahrenheit 451, which I really liked. I saw that for the first time when I was a teenager in high school. And I thought the concept was interesting that the firemen weren't there to put out fires. They're actually there to light shit on fire. If you had like art, music, whatever. This plays along the same line. Of course, now they're taking injections to suppress
their
the emotions.
feelings.
Yeah.
Feelings are evil. You had a sense. What was it? A sense offense.
A sense offense, yeah. So
I like this movie. I not as much as you, clearly, because your boyfriend's in it, but
well, yeah. Again, like it hits some strings. Like, there's points where when Bale's character starts kind of like stop taking the medicine, he starts to feel. There's one scene where like there's these dogs behind this fence, and like they killed them. Like the soldiers killed him because it causes emotion. So he protects one and takes it and gives it to his kids, who he thinks are still on the drugs, but they kind of stopped taking it too. They were getting kind of
right
smart.
after Mom.
Yeah. But yeah, just a really good film. And I think most people that have seen this, there's one particular scene that stands out above all, and it's towards the end, and I'm not going to give it all away. But here's just a little clip of one of my favorite scenes from this.
I told you I'd make my career with you, cleric.
To combine the capacity. Preston. Brand's job was simple. To make you feel like you'd won. To make you feel safe. For years, I tried to infiltrate an agent into the underground. Until it hit me. In order to pass undetected into their midst. In order to be trusted by them, my provocateur would have to think like them. And would have to feel like them. But where to find such a man? A man with the capacity to feel who didn't yet know it.
But we've never met.
No?
Don't look so surprised, Preston. Why should Father be more real than any other political puppet? The real Father died years ago. The Council simply elected me to pursue its eternal tradition. And you, Preston, the supposed savior of the Resistance, are now its destroyer. And along with them, you've given me yourself. Come. Coolly. Entirely without incident.
Not entirely.
Oh, shit.
Shit. Not without incident.
Yeah.
It was a good movie.
Yes. Very good film. I love this film. Yeah, so yeah, there's not much more I can say. I really dig this film. It's really exciting, great action. And it really it kind of came out towards the beginning of Christian's career. Like there's even another film that I gotta watch with her again. that she hadn't seen yet, which a little bit different for
Does it
Christian Bale
it stars Christian Bale. Big surprise.
and Ewan McGregor. And,
Oh, Ewan McGregor?
yeah,
I'll watch it. I
Yep.
love him.
yeah. You'll be. I think we're gonna do that tonight. We're watching football tonight, but
Excellent.
anywho,
Did you? There's one movie I'm surprised that you haven't put on your list yet.
well, don't. Well, go ahead. What do you think it is?
Did you put Big Fish on your list yet?
Mm-mm. It's a good film.
I just thought you liked that so much.
I mean, I liked it. I don't know if I consider it like one of my favorites. I mean, it's a good film. It was interesting. We saw it in the theater. It
Yeah,
was
we
fun.
did. I mean, I really like it, but I honestly thought that was a movie that you.
I mean, if I did a top 100, it'd probably be in there somewhere. You know,
I like Big Fish, but it seemed like a movie.
yeah. Well, you know, originally we were kind of going through this because when I saw that article about their list, it was like their parameters for what they were trying to use as the reasoning for why they chose it just didn't match what I had, like what I considered entertaining movies.
So where are we now?
We are at number 11. So we are at the bottom of this second to last episode. Again, this is based off the first film, but both are going to be included and with a
Okay.
possible third coming. It is coming that came out in 2009, the first one, and it is Sherlock Holmes. And it's directed by Guy Ritchie. Cast is Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, Rachel McAdams, Kelly Riley, who was fantastic in Yellowstone, by the way. Plot is Detective Sherlock Holmes and his stalwart partner Watson engage in battle of wits and brawn with a nemesis whose plot is to threat to all England.
I did like the first one a lot. Well, you know, I love Rachel McAdams.
Yes, I
She's-
do.
She's
But I thought that Downey Jr. and Jude Law are great as Watson. Like it's a different vibe than you usually get with Watson because like you and I, we've watched Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu. That was like a different take on it.
we watched
Benedict
it-
Cumberbatch and Martin
Cumberbatch
Freeman,
one was
and that was really good.
really good.
That Best Man speech is still amazing. I still go back and watch that. It's so
That
great.
scene sometimes.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
'Cause
But this is like a little bit more of an action-packed Sherlock Holmes. Like I'm
but
a
he's still weird.
yes,
Like he's
very
still
quirky.
very weird and quirky, and that's what like every Sherlock Holmes that you see has the weird, like he has Asperger's or something. Like
Yeah.
he definitely is intelligent, but he doesn't have like the whole I don't want to say social cues down, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
He just says what's on his mind.
They're socially awkward.
Mhm.
So like with Benedict's version, like he can
It's all
like
over the place.
he's like the rude son of a bitch. Like he doesn't really know.
But he loves Watson.
Yes.
Watson loves him.
Yeah. And it's the same way with these
Mhm.
two. It's just again, you know, Watson's preparing to marry Kelly Riley's character, and Sherlock is kind of feeling abandoned, you know, through a lot of this. So he's like,
He was in the TV shows too. Like
and I grew up a big like Sherlock Holmes fan, so like Hound of the Baskervilles is always like my favorite story from that. I don't know what they're gonna do with the third film. I've heard they're gonna do one with these guys. I hope they do to make it complete. But the first two are just so amazing, and of course, you know, you get Moriarty in there and stuff like that. Just the banter between Law and Downey Jr. as their characters is so great in this. It's so funny, and it's got to rank up there because it's another one of those films where I just sit there and I'll watch it regardless because it's just so good.
because it's on.
Yep. And that really is the end of it for this episode. Like we're down to the last 10 and we'll get that out at some point. But
Jesus, I mean at the
she
end,
really struggled with this
this
one.
was
I might have redeemed myself with the last two here, but
I don't know. I might need to take your ranking and re-rank them all.
well, I'd be curious more of what your list would look like. I mean, I literally had to, like, see, people think that I can just think of this shit off the top of my head. I can't, because I can't remember the film that came out. So I sat and I went through each year, and I even went to look for Korean films, Chinese films, just so I didn't miss anything that
And see,
might
but
end up
see,
in my
for
list.
me, I do like foreign films too, but everything for me is going to be based off of like. Did you even have Inception on here yet?
Mm-mm.
Are you going to have Inception? I mean, don't spoil it, but like that would be like in my top. You know how I feel about Inception. That would be like number 1 or number 2.
Mm-hmm.
What about and again, it took me like 12 times to watch Inception before I totally got it. At first I hated the movie. Like I really hated it, and we watched it. We went to see it in the theater, didn't we? And then I watched it. I'm like, this makes no sense.
See, the funny thing is, like, I'm gonna just give you a spoiler. Inception's not on my list at all. But I will say this about the top 10. So she may have been massively disappointed here. And there might be like maybe one movie that's gonna be like, she's gonna be like, what the fuck you thinking? But I think everything else, especially 3 or 4 of them, she's gonna be like, oh, okay.
Alright, so
I
maybe-
get some logic to you.
I was gonna say, maybe Inception wouldn't be like 1 or 2. It would probably be like 10. And like The Departed would be like 1 or 2 for me. And you don't even have The Departed on there. Yet?
Never know. You gotta find out. Gotta find out.
That's one of my most
This isn't reality TV, baby.
reality TV. You bury your body in the mosh. You bury your body in the mosh. Don't laugh.
Say reality TV.
That is I'll quote the whole damn movie for no reason sometimes. Dirty, dirty. I love that damn movie. Yeah, because that would be like Inception is going to drop down because wait a minute. What about Fight Club? That was another one that took me like years to figure out.
But is that like a late 90s?
Was that late 90s?
I
think it was. It was a late 90s because it came out around like
99.
yeah,
something.
The Matrix and all. Yeah, I was like,
So if you did you really got to do one. Because I'm curious. So when we do the next episode, we'll let you count down your list.
oh, you just want me to give my list? Well, I already spoiled it. The Departed's like 1 or 2.
But yeah, but that still needs 49 more. And I think I know it'd be number 2. Barbie.
Might be. Might be. Actually, I think The Notebook is higher than Barbie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she would have a lot of chick flicks.
Not a lot, but meaningful. Like The Notebook.
That'll be in there.
So good.
Now, granted, like, Notebook's a good film. It's too sappy for me. I
and
don't really like
he
watching.
gets really depressed at the end.
And Summer Plains Live, like, that was actually pretty funny. Like, that was actually pretty fucking funny. I mean, it has some sappy moments and nice romantic stuff.
But for me, it has everything. It has football,
Mhm.
mental illness, and dancing.
Yeah.
My top 3. So like, if you have 3 things like that, that would also probably be a top 10 as well.
That's the other thing, too. Like, when I did this list of mine, like, I really, really tried to avoid using comic book hero movies as much as possible because there's
I
so
don't
many
think
that I
any.
do
I
like.
mean, I don't think I've had a like.
I think if you were going to have one, it might be Guardians 3 because we liked it
We
so
liked
much.
it so much, but like I liked Guardians 1 as well.
Yeah.
Guardians 2 was kind of but Guardians 1 and Guardians 3, so I'd probably do the same thing, like group them together because I feel like. But for me, there hasn't been a comic book movie besides, and again, this was what like kind of launched it all, the first Iron Man.
Yeah.
That really,
Yeah.
brought it out there, and that was one where there was like we had that reaction, like it was like, oh, this is on screen, and all the other ones are just interesting to watch, and then it gets too convoluted because you have to watch the TV shows and watch the movies, and there's like subplots and this and that. Like for me, I'm not saying, I mean, they make billions of dollars. Like, I'm not saying they're bad movies at all, but I wouldn't rank them on anything because it's gotten to the point where it is an ongoing, and like the first X-Men movie, it was exactly what I wanted to see because I was a huge X-Men comic book fan when I was younger. So that's what I wanted to see on screen. And then when they started, like, you know, adding in Deadpool, and they started, like, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is exactly what I expected as what Wolverine would be.
Mm-hmm.
So those were exciting things, but they're not like, Christ, I don't even think I've seen half of them now because they put out too many to keep up with, and I was traveling so much for the last, 6 years that I would just kind of watch, like, for me, because I love Thor.
Yeah, I mean, that Ragnarok was great.
I always tried to watch the ones that, but I don't think I've seen any of the Doctor Stranges. Or we saw the one.
Well, I've seen both.
I saw the newer one because that had what's his face in it.
Yeah, you watched it when it was on Disney.
It was on
Plus.
TV.
Yeah.
I might have to just, like, sit down. I wanna look at your list too, just to be like, okay, I picked that, because there are some important, like, you did include comedy in there. There's not always a lot of, but these are movies that are, like, we joke about Clerks too, but, like, that's an important movie to the two of us, like, a very deep, important movie. Same thing with Napoleon Dynamite, and a lot of people kind of, like,
overlooked that one.
Yeah, they
because it came out so early in the 2000s that there's been, like, Step Brothers,
and it was hardly even.
It was an indie, so
yeah, and I always tell people when you watch Napoleon, you have to watch it twice. The first time you're going to be like,
what the fuck?
What am I watching? And from what I understand, like, because this was very early 2000s, and during that, it's harder now for people to, like, to kind of get the comedy because, like, we have everything in our phones, like, in the palm of our hands, and we joke about, like, I have to meet online for a chat, like, that what really happened a lot. Like, you had to meet online at 4:00 for a chat date, or somebody's going to be online. Whereas now, like, everybody's online all the time because it's on your phone or whatever. But it just kind of hit home for a lot of people who lived in areas like because Napoleon Dynamite's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's set in, like, a more rural area, which also happens to put people behind 10 to 15 years with fashion and stuff. Like, when you look at bigger cities, everybody's, moving a little faster. Well, their internet and their infrastructure for everything is also 10 or 15 years behind. So granted, when we saw Napoleon Dynamite, it was, 2002, 2003 here in Baltimore, and we already had high-speed internet. And they're, like, still trying to figure out how to use an old ass computer with the big thick monitor, and we're laughing at it because, like, we're high tech already, but a lot of things like that really do happen when you get, like, towards the center of America. And we even saw it, like, because we've taken a few road trips where we're driving through states and there's nothing. Literally nothing. And I'm like, I really need a rest stop. And it's like, well, the next rest stop isn't 100 miles. Like, we forget, because we do live in a large city, that there's, a McDonald's, a Royal Farms, a Wendy's, a Taco Bell. Like, there's 100 things around us within a 3-mile radius. You live in one of these smaller towns, you have one grocery store if you're lucky, and you have to, like, his parents live in a small town, and they have Walmart, I believe, and, like, a Home Depot.
Yeah, most of the main stuff
the
is,
Walmart
like,
isn't there. The
it's in
Walmart is in Fort Smith.
Yeah.
So they have Home Depot, but no Walmart, and they have, like, some local places, but their town is still, it's very cute and but we're driving to see his parents last year, and we're in dead cell phone area. We had GPS up, and it's like, GPS signal lost. I'm like, oh, that's great. But that's why I feel like the beauty of Napoleon, maybe for the younger generation, because now like there are options with like 5G internet and stuff that like really added to the humor. If someone younger now who never had to experience like glamour shots or playing tetherball, because it's just a dumb game, but there's not much to do in that town. So, but that scene at the end where he's playing tetherball with his girlfriend and the music,
That's the thing. Like,
it's just set so perfectly.
it has like a silliness of Dumb and Dumber, but it's a little bit more endearing than that, and the soundtrack is amazing throughout it. So like, it actually offers more than Dumb and Dumber does in terms of like substance. But it's not that I don't dislike Dumb and Dumber, but Napoleon Dynamite's really underrated. Like, it's a really good comedy, but some people get thrown off because it's got this uber silliness to it.
He's the fucking llama.
Yeah.
It's your ham.
But like, again, like for me, it's like it's kind of like laughing throughout it, but then you get these kind of cool moments at the end when he starts dancing, like wow, like that. And I think that's the way they designed it, because they wanted to kind of blow people away that he took this much effort to help his friend and like practice this stuff.
He bought the VHS, mind you, VHS at a thrift store. And that was another thing, because I've read a lot about Napoleon Dynamite. I love that movie. That would definitely be higher, I think, too.
Well, I think, maybe we'll talk about it, but I think it would be kind of cool to do like maybe top 10 action films of the 80s or maybe even 90s, and you can do like top 10 comedies too, but you and I kind of need to collaborate our thoughts on what we think are the best movies of those eras, and just kind of do some different videos on that. I think people would kind of enjoy.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, that'd be a good one in there. Anyway,
thank you so much for watching.
Tomorrow we have an interview with a band that's north of us in PA called The Follow Me, and we'll have that up for you tomorrow. And then next Friday, we'll be doing an interview with Hog from Hog Gaming. Really cool
Hog
guy.
Gaming.
He's a really cool guy. I can't wait to talk to him. A lot of fun. He's really
Tomorrow
funny.
is Hog or next week is Hog?
Next week is Hog.
Cool.
Tomorrow's The Follow Me.
Okay.
And then after
we
that,
have a calendar. I
schedule.
I started doing this for us because we've been trying to get more interviews, and like we have a life. We both work and stuff, but you have to like. Because he would tell me something and he'd be like,
Well,
oh, yeah.
I'd forget my own shit. So like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do that.
Or the dentist is a big one, because, nobody except for me, because I'm a psycho. I love the dentist, and I have to reschedule my cleaning myself. I scheduled my cleaning while we were on vacation. Stupid me. But he never remembers to go to the dentist, and I am like,
I just have to reschedule.
They'll call him the day of, hey, where are you? And he's like, oh shit, okay, can I reschedule? So if it's on the calendar, it's like the Bible. Like, you have to follow the calendar, and it's made a big impact because it's like a shared calendar. It's on the computer, it's on the phone, and it's been really great because we've been able to, schedule interviews. And we've had some really great interviews. Think about it,
Yeah.
We had Norman Skinner, and I'm so impressed with how well
Chris Iverson from Diaspora was recently.
Yes.
So we got a lot of good stuff up there you need to go check out. And of course, we're doing other shows. I mean, at least mainly me with Poet, with this Poetic Carnage, and then we got the gaming stuff.
And you and Kevin.
Yeah. Cinematic Synergy. We've already got the movie picked out for the next one, which is kind of funny. I've watched it already. I have to watch it again.
What is it?
It's called Porno, but it's not a porno. It's a horror film, but
it's a horror porno.
Yeah, it's pretty funny though. But I actually enjoyed a little bit of it. All right. Well, anyway, thank you for supporting this channel. Please hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel, please. All the help supports us is very appreciated.
I definitely am going to start thinking about like my top 50 movies of the 21st century. I'm just, maybe the best way to do it is kind of cathartic, just like jot down what I'm thinking, like movies I know I love, and then do what you did, like just kind of go through year by year and be like, oh yeah, I
Yeah, usually Wiki will have a list of the movies that get released. Not every single thing, because sometimes stuff that gets released independently doesn't show up,
Mhm.
but it does help you kind of remind you, oh yeah, this came out that year, and then this, oh yeah, I like that, or I didn't like that.
So on our next episode, we're going to be hitting the top 10,
Mhm.
and I'm wondering if you could kind of go more in depth of like how you did your rating scale, just based off of, are you looking, I mean, that was the big thing.
I can tell you now that
Now, save it for next time, because I want to get into a discussion about that, because what really kind of spurred this was when you and I were talking about like how that article and then like the Academy Awards and stuff are like, well, you're not going to get nominated unless you have like XYZ. And it's like, well, why can't you just get nominated because you put on an amazing movie?
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if you have criteria, so think about that for next time, because these are your top 10 movies of the last 23 years.
yeah,
So think about like explaining how you came up with, you were really trying to keep it like a nice broad, like multi, not just US, you were going for foreign films too, and you were going comedy and
Yeah.
and drama and also action.
enjoyability.
Hmm.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching this.
Yes,
and
thank you
if
so
you got any
much.
comments, let us know what you thought. If you want to bash me for my picks like Neko, that's fine too.
Yeah, this is bashable.
See y'all next time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.